So I've been at Staffordshire County Council for a couple of years now, and before that I was in the fair city of Manchester working at Transport for Greater Manchester for about 4 years. I started off in internal comms and I led internal comms through the pandemic there, and I also, if you've been around Manchester and you know Manchester and you obviously know the trams and Metrolink, so I led on the comms for Metrolink and that was my portfolio. And then I also did some work and led the change communications and the internal change programme that they had there called Future Ready. And that was a really interesting thing to be part of. I'm very grateful to be here today. Thank you for to Orlo and to Darren for having me here. When we had a bit of a chat about some of the work that I'm doing with my team, we talked about the advocacy and the staff advocacy work that we're doing, and they thought that that would be a really good fit with the themes of today that Phil mentioned about the sort of trust and engagement work and building that trust. So I'm going to talk to you for about 20 minutes or so, depending on whether I go off on a random tangent or not, but I've got really comprehensive notes, so hopefully won't do. But then I'll talk to you about sort of the power of advocacy, why we're doing it at Staffordshire, and sort of how we're doing it, and then have a bit of time for any questions if you've got any towards the end. So advocacy is not a new thing. It'll become as no surprise. You'll have heard it bandied around, and it's been around forever. In the pre-digital era, it was all done by word of mouth. You know, if you wanted to know what it was like somewhere at the workplace, you know, you'd talk to somebody who worked there, or you'd speak to a friend of a friend who worked there, and you'd know somewhere by its reputation. But nowadays, the power to advocate for a place of work is really firmly in the hands of its staff, who, through the power of social media, have much more of an influential voice. It's a really powerful platform, and it's something that companies and organisations and businesses and brands should really value and nurture. I guarantee you that it is already out there and happening, even if you're not aware of it. But for it to be good, it doesn't happen by magic. It's something that you could potentially harness and understand and more to make more of better. There are loads of benefits of staff advocacy. It's increased brand awareness and positive perception among partners, the public, and among peers. Amplification of messages about your organisation, your campaigns, your successes, any consultations you've got out, improved recruitment efforts, enhanced staff retention and engagement with staff, and it's really helpful in times of crisis as well. This powerful potential is something that we wanted to harness at Staffordshire because it helps us to build trust with our people and with our communities. And trust is at an all-time low, as Phil mentioned earlier. According to the Edelman Trust Barometer, which I'm sure a lot of you have heard of, the 2023 data that was released in March states record levels of pessimism, a growing sense of inequality and strong beliefs that the country is on the wrong track illustrates a concerning and bleak outlook in the UK. Alongside this consensus of pessimism, trust in government has fallen to a 7-year low, with trust in leading politicians and parties also at the lowest levels. That's a pretty grim situation to be in. Here are a few stats about the staff-generated content. These are from Edelman as well. 53% of global consumers see employees as the most credible source of information about a brand, and 63% of 18 to 34-year-olds, which as many of us will know through various campaigns and what are a notoriously tricky audience to engage with sometimes. When they were surveyed, they said what influencers say about brands more than the brands themselves. That's what they trust. Content that's shared by colleagues gets 8 times more engagement than that shared by an organisation or a brand's own channels. And an organisation or a brand's messages are reshared 24 times more frequently if distributed by the employees themselves rather than the organisation. So, what are the goals of our advocacy work? Why do we want to do it? Well, it's those benefits that I mentioned earlier. We want to increase engagement across our channels. Who doesn't? We want to engage more with our staff themselves and ultimately improve how people feel about the place that they work at. It's not a bad place, you know, we've got some great stuff going on, but there's always room for improvement. We want to promote the Staffordshire County Council brand, boost our reputation, attract talented people to work with us. We want to encourage the staff, the great staff that we've got, to stay with us for longer and be loyal to our brand and to us as an organisation. And really importantly for us, we want to give people the opportunity to innovate, and that's a really big thing for us at Staffordshire. We are in the early days of a huge sort of organisation-wide innovation campaign, and the more chances that we can create for staff to learn from their peers and immerse themselves in the subject area and the knowledge that's out there about that, as well as shouting about the work that they're doing, the more likely they are to come up with new ways of doing things that can help the council and learning from their peers. So linking it to that innovation. The council's brands are all about being ambitious, creative and empowering. They're at the core of everything that we do at Staffordshire to support the people of the county. Part of our role as communicators is to encourage staff to live these values through their work. How? By helping them to see their part in the big picture and understand their importance, and by encouraging them to feel part of a team and working together with a real sense of shared purpose. And how do we do that? Well, this is where I bang my internal comms drum quite loudly, and that's probably realised that's preaching to the choir to a room full of communicators. But the key to people valuing their role starts with strategic internal communication that really connects the whole organisation. I've just written a new internal comms strategy, and I've gone into a lot of detail about setting out our relationship with the HR team, how we're supporting their aims, particularly around our new people strategy that we've just refreshed, and how that integrates with all areas of our comms and marketing team. Ultimately, really what that's about is about giving people a voice and helping them to tell their stories to each other and then outside the organisation to other people. And what does that do? Well, that gives them that sense of connection across the organisation, which I'm sure mine, like many of yours, is traditionally quite siloed, especially, you know, if you're working in local authorities, it really can be quite siloed there. It amplifies them, it gives them a platform to share, which also helps them with their career too, because it's about improving networks, visibility, and helps to position them as subject matter experts and thought leaders, and further encourages them to share even more content and add their thoughts and add insights. And really it gives people a sense of pride. All of this, it supports and encourages organisational culture where people are happy. It builds trust. And happy employees are the ones that are going to become brand advocates. Brilliant, you see? That sounds straightforward. All you have to do is create an engaged, trusting workplace culture with staff that advocate for your organisation. Easy peasy. I'm going to take a moment to learn from the leadership guru that is David Brent. And it might be an unusual choice as a leadership guru, but one of the David Brent quotes is that trust, encouragement, reward, loyalty, satisfaction. I'm not going to act it and try and do a David Brent voice, but trust people and they'll be true to you. Treat them greatly and they will show themselves to be great. I actually think that's a really good quote. Also, like me, he was a musician, you know. So we've got a lot in common. If you saw my LinkedIn post earlier, me and David Brent, a lot in common. Research from Gallup found that 70% of an employee's engagement level is determined by their direct manager. And you know the old phrase that people don't leave jobs, they leave a bad manager. Well, that really is true. There are loads and loads of podcasts, literature, websites, books, blogs, everything about leadership and leadership culture that I am not going to go into here because we haven't got the time and I've not got that subject matter expertise. But at the very least, focusing on the managers as a community and their leadership development will have the biggest impact on how people feel about the place that they're working, their job, their organisation, their part in the big picture, all that cultural stuff. So what we're doing is we're starting with our manager community and focusing on them and educating them as the brand advocates. They're the key to unlocking this staff potential and helping to develop that positive workplace to then hopefully lead on to this culture where we've got a whole organisation full of brand advocates. So why are we focusing on social media? I said a lot of that is done by word of mouth. And why are we particularly focusing on LinkedIn, which is the first platform that we're really going for it with? Well, it's where everybody already is. People are already there sharing their learning, their thoughts, their ideas, their jobs, reading suggestions, resources. It's all there. I know LinkedIn does have its haters. I know it does. You know, we all get the connection request that turns into a sales pitch, and then you get your constant offers of, I don't want premium. But it does take a bit of time and effort to build up your account, to actually take advantage of the relationships that are on there and think about the content that you're putting on there. Some people just don't have the headspace or the time to be able to do that, but a lot of people do. LinkedIn currently has over 900 million users, around 310 million active monthly users, and that is increasing year on year. And thinking about jobs and recruitment, about 49 million people use it to search for jobs every year. So for us, it's just a natural place to start. It's also keeping it contained to a space on social media that feels most comfortable as we develop. We did a bit of audience research around the council before we got started, and we understood that some people might not really want to share things about work through Facebook with friends and family immediately. That professional space felt a little bit more comfortable to be able to do that. So that's why we're starting with LinkedIn. We're not stopping people from doing it on other channels, but this is what we're focusing on at the moment. This might be a bit controversial. Well, it is controversial in a room full of communicators, and we're considering what we always go bang on about. But I have to be honest, we don't really have a plan. It's a bit of a lie. We have an approach. We are starting, but what we've kind of done is just get stuck in there and get the ball rolling. We haven't done a formal strategy with objectives yet. We didn't start this with the intention of creating a advocacy scheme. My team, our senior leaders, we know that we cannot fake trust and a positive workplace culture. There are loads of pockets of work going on with HR, with our OD colleagues, lots of things that are recruitment that are going on in various places across the organisation. And what we're doing is seeing it as an opportunity, and what we as communicators often end up doing is pulling together all those strands and pulling them into one place and then creating that into a strategy. So we're in that early stage at the moment. Making sure that it blends with what we're doing as communicators on our outward channels, what we've got going on with my internal comm strategy that I mentioned earlier, the media strategy, just pulling it all together in that way. We really want people to feel proud to shout about the good stuff that they're doing, and to be honest as well, when it's not quite so good, if things are challenging, to speak with a real authentic voice and be empowered to do so. So what we're doing is giving people the tools, guidance, support and encouragement to be able to do that. And then we're linking it back to the council strategic objectives that I mentioned earlier about reputation and recruitment and retention, and that innovation one as well. So we're starting off with some training and education and guidance, really giving those middle managers starting there with that comprehensive training on using social media effectively and responsibly, giving them some guidance on creating, what a good LinkedIn profile looks like and how to create that. Educating people about the benefits of personal branding and networking and how they can get the most of it. We are giving them some guidelines on creating engaging content and stuff that's relevant as well for their subject area. We're encouraging them to share their expertise, success stories and the projects that they're working on. We're giving them examples of content that can align with our council objectives as well, and ideas of how to create their own, and in plain English, because if you work in a council or NHS or anything, you know what people are like for jargon, so there's a lot of work on style and tone of voice going on as well that we're sharing with people. We're also giving them branded templates and content that they can use, which we've got an in-house designer. I know some teams don't, but we're lucky that we have, and we're able to give them those templates, which also helps give us a bit of control visually over of the stuff that's going out there, that it's sort of branded and on theme and on style. We're not saying that people have to use that; it's not compulsory, but it's there if people want that help and support, and give them that bit of a framework if they're not as confident. We're also quite firmly using a lot of good hashtags. We've introduced the concept of hashtag campaigns, and we will be doing it as challenges as well at some point, but to create unique and memorable hashtags that align with the council's values, and also make sure there are no embarrassing hashtags, you know, like the ones that sometimes that have got a little rude word in the middle. Yeah, make sure that doesn't happen. You know, we've got hashtag Team Staffordshire, you know, there's hashtag Team everything now, but we've got Team Staffordshire, we've got the hashtag We Are Staffordshire, we've got the We Are Staffordshire brand, which is our place marketing campaign thing, so we use that a lot. And then, for example, events, so the 1st of May is Staffordshire Day, so we do hashtag Staffordshire Day. So make sure that that's consistent so that people know and can identify, and can spot what other people are doing around those hashtags and jump on them too. So that's where we are at the moment. The next phase is to start the monitor and evaluation. So we are starting to look at the social media analytics to basically to see how it's going. We've got staff engagement around that to do that. We're surveying staff. We've got focus sessions, see how they feel. Are they enjoying it? Are they enjoying? What kind of feedback do they get from their channels? And is it doing anything for their network and their reputation? There are tools out there that can help people do this. There are these advocacy program tools, but we're not using that. As I said, you know, we've not really got a plan, so we're just getting started. So we're just, don't want to say winging it, but we are winging it as we go. But the ultimate thing is about having that evaluation so we can demonstrate the impact of that. Is it being effective? Is it having an impact? Like any good campaign, you see how things are going, you adjust it and you evaluate and you change it to see what needs doing as a response of what's happening out there. And then we want to take it bigger. So touch wood, if all's going well, we want to go bigger with this and roll it out beyond managers, using them as a tool and helping them to advocate for advocacy to their teams, so that they can see how it's working for their managers and lead by example and roll that onto them. Also, we want to start to post more content to our corporate channels about staff and their stories, and use that as our corporate messaging, because it'll hopefully be on brand if we're doing it all right, and get it out there, because it isn't a one-way street. We're not asking them to advocate for us and then to not use that content. So we want to do more of that, for us to talk about our people and how important they are to delivering the services for the people of Staffordshire and what they're achieving via our corporate accounts. So this is a risk-free exercise. Obviously, implementing a staff advocacy programme can bring lots of benefits, but there are potential pitfalls and challenges and risks involved. So some of the ones to think about if you're thinking about advocacy that we're certainly thinking about, first of all, a sort of resistance and a bit of reluctance to doing that. Some people are a bit hesitant to participate in something like this. Privacy concerns, fear of making mistakes or looking a bit daft. So that's where the training comes in. The inappropriate use of social media as well, you know, people making inappropriate comments or making statements that could reflect negatively on the organisation. So that's why it's really important to have those guidelines out there and educate employees on sort of responsible social media usage, and also that to have that overarching view. You know, we're Orlo customers, but to be able to monitor that and to be able to see what people are putting out there on behalf of the organisation, just to be able to keep an eye on things. Lack of engagement, that's a bit of a risk. Not all employees may really actively engage in the programme, which perhaps can limit its effectiveness. But, you know, we've got that opportunity to overcome that apathy and that disinterest, and through sort of regular communication from us, lots of updates, and demonstrating that value through the evaluation, we can try and get around that. Time, resource and constraints. People say, it's hard work to do this, I can't fit it in, I can't do it. So there's that side to tackle, but there's also the resource it takes within the comms team to be able to keep this going. But with the evaluation, and we can show, demonstrating the impact, we can show the benefits of allocating the resources to be able to do that. So again, it helps to minimise that risk. Inconsistent messaging. So again, try and get that through minimise that by having the good guidance and the training, so that people don't share inaccurate information or do anything that might damage the reputation. And again, through that, we'll emphasise the importance of the consistent messaging and using the right channels and everything. It seems like I'm going on and about the risks more and everything. I've got loads more yet, so I'm talking about that more than anything else. I talked about evaluation, but that tracking and measurement is really important. It is a challenge to be able to do that accurately and to get a really good vibe of what's happening. But having the systems in place that we do have, to be able to track those metrics, will again demonstrate that we have got that, to demonstrate the impact that it's having on, say, recruitment, retention. That's one of the aims for us. Another bit of a risk, over-reliance on individual people. You know what it's like when you get a media spokesperson who's great in front of the camera, or somebody who writes a great blog post, to always go to that person. Really easy to go to that person to get them to write a blog or something. So really want to make sure that we don't always rely on the same people to be the voice of the organisation. They might leave, but other people might see it's an unfair advantage, and you always use Mark from accounts, I'm not going to bother. So we want to make sure that we share through the training and encourage people to do it, even if it's just a really small piece that they're writing for the organisation. Every bit is rewarded and encouraged. And the last risk is about the sort of ethical and legal considerations. That's making sure you're compliant with privacy laws and GDPR, and avoiding conflicts of interest and things like that, and that people are sticking to whatever platform we're using, their social media guidelines and rules on those. Who's doing good stuff around this? Marks and Spencers, they're brilliant. There's loads of really great stuff on their LinkedIn pages from their teams and staff. They share loads of their content. They're encouraged to do it direct to their platforms, and there's loads of tags in there. There's a lot great on their LinkedIn account. And Starbucks are brilliant. Whatever you think of Starbucks as an organisation, I know some people love them, some people hate them, but they're definitely big on staff advocacy. They call their staff advocates partners, and they really encourage them to share their stories and share what's happening in their communities, their involvement in that, and they've got real set of specific hashtags, and which really helps foster a sense of community and belonging to the organisation. And some of the big tech firms are really good at this as well. IBM, they've got IBM Voices, Google, Microsoft, Cisco is called Cisco Ambassadors. So there's loads of really of good ones out there to have a look and see who are doing it well. So I'm coming towards the end of my little bit now. I've gone over a bit of of why advocacy matters, and about building trust with our staff and the people of our county, and how advocacy is helping us and supporting us through our organisational objectives, particularly that around innovation, those values, recruitment and retention of people, and the early steps that we're taking and what we're doing at the moment, and then the training, the content creation and the support focusing on the manager community. And then where we're going next with the measurement and the broadening, the nailing down the smart objectives. I will have some smart objectives at some point, and then adjusting and firming up the plan. the thing is that advocacy does matter. It matters for us as an organisation. It could matter for your organisation, but you can't force it. It is something that happens anyway, but it will happen by itself. So it's if you build that positive workplace culture and make it easier for you to develop an advocacy scheme, that will have benefits for your organisation as well. So that's it. Please feel free to connect with me on LinkedIn if you want to advocate for your organisation. You know, I talk about it a lot. I'm kind of average on LinkedIn and maybe a bit Squidward, but please feel free to get in touch with me if you want to and want to connect. And if anybody's got any questions, I'll be happy to chat about them.
Brilliant, that was great. Thanks, Helena. I think we've got time for a few questions. And you've got a roving mic. So.
Question.
Go ahead.
How have you started this? I suppose in terms of that management layer.
Yes.
How could you gotten over? I have no time. This is not important to my role.
Mm-hmm.
Can't talk to you. Not doing it because that's exactly what we will.
Yeah.
This is a great idea. What's running through my head is to go through those people that are all over the organisation who we can already see talking.
Yeah.
Because I think our management layer, my colleagues will just go, absolutely not.
Yeah.
This is nothing that we've got time or space or headspace for. So how have you tackled that with that?
So,
because that's going to be
yeah.
a common theme for public sector people.
Yeah. So we've started top down. So we've made sure that the chief exec and the directors are leading by example and starting to post regular content. And there's a little bit of, if they're doing it, I'm going to do it, because it shows that they're, and also we're getting those senior leaders to then post on their posts when they do it, which helps encourage that. So there's that little bit of professional, one-upmanship. Oh, did you see my blog? That kind of stuff. There's the training and the drop-in exercise, drop-in sessions and the focus groups and the toolkits and everything that's going out to people. And because we're at that early stage where we are delivering it, we're still not getting everybody yet, but we've made sure that my social media manager is delivering a lot of these, and she's going to where they already are. So she is finding 10 minutes on their team meeting slots. She's going to their leadership meetings, any way that she can sort of get in there in time that's already convenient to them, so that it doesn't have to become a big piece. Lots of the examples really help, so that because people think that you have to write a 3,000-word essay, and it doesn't. It can be as simple as a quick snap in a room like this, or a photo of a slide at a team meeting. Yes.
I love that idea. But
yeah.
It's just sort of simplifying what can be seen as quite a complex.
Yeah.
Platform.
Demystifying it, especially the people that do hate LinkedIn and think it's just an online CV. If we can demonstrate to them and say, look, it can be easy, and here's how you get the ball rolling, I think you soon find that it becomes self-perpetuating. So as I say, we're still at the early stages and we're just starting to see that now, but it's spreading, and we are finding we've still got quite big pockets of resistance, and we're a big organisation, but it's starting to make inroads. We've got the early adopters, so definitely underway with it.
It's great. Just really something that I hadn't thought of, and such a good idea.
Thank you.
Really good, thank you.
Thanks.
Sorry, I have one. Have you put any formal incentivisation around it? Because a lot of the platforms that exist that manages for you have incentivisation in. So I wondered if you either are or are planning to do any employee incentivisation.
Not at this stage. Budget constraints is a big thing, and until we can demonstrate, that it's having some impact, then people might. But we've got a lot of reluctance for it to be any financial incentivisation. We are trying to motivate through other ways in terms of reputation and that kind of thing. But no, there's certainly no sort of reward. I mentioned our innovation programme. That is coming as part of that we're doing. We're creating an innovation awards. We haven't had any staff recognition, previously. So we're starting an annual awards thing, and as part of that there will be some prizes and remunerations and stuff through that, and that is kind of linked to the advocacy, and there will be a category in there about in the staff awards about for advocacy, so kind of, but yeah, the short answer is no, the long answer is kind of.
Any questions? Are you using the mic or not? It's better for the recording, isn't it? Yeah, you could use the mic, please.
Hi.
It's not good accurate. No, just a quick one. So you said one way to incentivise is through build reputation. Could you just expand on that? What would you mean?
On building the reputation of the organisation.
Yeah, but but when you're incentivising the individual, and you said about
The personal reputation. Yeah, so that's about, I can use myself as an example, coming to talk at something like this. Hopefully most of you will want to connect with me on LinkedIn and you like what I'm saying. You might not, you might block me, but that the idea is that for me this is a reputation boosting thing. I'm going to go and I posted about it on LinkedIn this morning. It's things like that for people to do that with their peers. If they're working in the social care sector, they might connect with people and talk about a piece of work that they're working on, especially if it's something a bit innovative. So it will help them to boost their reputation professionally amongst their team in the organisation, externally. They can talk to their friends and family and say, I got 300 likes on a post for work, that's brilliant. And so it's that kind of reputation stuff that makes them feel good and feel like they're trusted and respected in the work that they're doing. So that has the positive benefit for them, and it has the same, knock-on positive benefit for the organisation as well.
just really quickly as well. And then what's the public response been since you started this?
Good question. Because we're using LinkedIn, we're not really seeing an awful lot of public comments on it. We've got good engagement. The posts that we repost from the corporate channels that are of a staff blog or something like that get a lot more engagement. They marry up with what we saw in the put in the stats about the slide. They get shared more, they get more likes because the people in their networks, so they don't see it as a boring corporate message that just kind of trot out some key messages. It's seen as more authentic. So we are seeing that they get comments. You get a much broader sphere of comments. You get a broader people who might not necessarily be our target audience, but they might know somebody who is in our target audience and they might reshare it. So we're seeing that kind of knock-on effects. So like I said, it's still early days and we're only just starting the monitoring and evaluation, but I would anticipate that it's going to follow the trends and still do the same. You're welcome.
Yeah, it's time for one more question.
Is that all right?
Do you want the microphone? You're going to have it, I think. Otherwise, Rich is going to get us in trouble.
Thank you. It's a great talk, and it's a really long time for us because we're looking at this sort of stuff like right now as well. I was just wondering how, when you came to setting out all your training and guidance and those sort of sessions when you were planning all that, how did you plan for? I think we would anticipate there being lots of different skill levels in the room when it comes to that sort of stuff.
Yeah.
So people who are right at the beginning don't even have a LinkedIn account or don't know how to set one up. People who are on there but aren't putting out the right stuff. People who are really engaged but maybe they need reining in slightly and being more on message.
Yeah.
So how did you plan out those sessions so you maybe feel like some people weren't excluded, or do you just power ahead, or did you commit lots of different things?
Yeah, a mixture of all of that. We started off, really it's my social media manager who sort of planned is delivering those sessions, and she's organised, like I said before, she's gone to lots of different places where managers are, but she's also organised drop-in sessions and places so that people could, so she'll go somewhere, do a talk and then have a follow-up drop-in session so that people, if they're complete beginners, they can come and just ask questions and drop in and out of that. So have an hour of a slot of a time so that it becomes quite free form and bespoke to whoever happens to be in the group at that time. So she's gone along and done follow-up sessions for teams specifically, and it's all quite bespoke, which we do know is time-consuming. But we are now trying to get on top of that by having lots of information and resources and a toolkit so that we can do that. And then she is keeping an active watch over the channels and working with the people who are maybe a bit over enthusiastic and sort of harnessing that enthusiasm, shall I say. But she's and so she's keeping on top of that. So it's very much winging it at the moment. So we do have those packages and then try and make it bespoke after that. And then as it grows, we'll hopefully have a bigger resource bank that we can grow and share with people so that they can get that information, they can come to it at the level that they need. Does that answer your question?
It does.
Yeah.